So Lil Vibes music, something that I listen to. He has a lot of music about the stuff that I talk about. Pretty interesting. But I'm gonna play one song real quick so you guys can get a feel of what his songs are like. One of my favorites is Ambition. So
Ambitions in my mind.
Say what?
I can't let 'em go.
I can't.
I'm reaching for the stars.
Yes, sir. What up? Look,
Got ambitions in my mind.
I do. What up? X.
I'm reaching for the stars.
Yeah. My mind right. Yeah,
Got
yeah.
ambitions in my mind.
My mind right. Yeah, yeah. Come on. I see.
I'm reaching for the stars.
Got ambitions on my mind and I can't let them go. Gotta stay up on my grind, no more sleeping on the floor. Came up from the pennies, now we stacking nickels in the drawer. On my dresser, yes, I got the pressure building on the low. Hit the joint and then I blow it, now I'm spinning around the globe. Put my name up in the bleachers and my people in the dough. Rappers scared to take a beat, you know I eat them with the flow. I don't need them, I've been scheming with the preacher and the post. Play these demons while I'm eating, no hall, I don't need no poke. Pick a season, now I'm teasing in the bees on the boat. Had to please it cause they sucking all my dogs off on the low. Don't be reaching when you see me, PTSD like pop smoke. Fuck a joke, came up broke, remember sleeping on the floor. Hella broke, hella niggas steady hating on the flow. Now they broke, and I'm packing out arenas with the shows. Blowing Kiefer in the Sutherland, saluting to the soul, yo. Woo. Saluting to the soul, yo. Yeah, saluting to the soul, yo. Oh, yes.
I'm reaching for the stars.
Yes, sir.
Got ambitions in my mind.
I do.
Can't let 'em go.
I can't.
I'm reaching for the stars.
Yeah, got ambitions on my mind and I can't let them go. I've been thinking about these things since a tender age of 4. Who would know I would grow to be a father and a goat? Sleeping woke, tipping toeing through the valley of the ghost. Off the coast with my lady going shopping for a boat. Single flow, gun the shot like I'm Katie with the post. Prove the bride, finish in Mortal Kombat, little bro. Like a boss, I was built to win, shining on these hoes. Crystal powder, golden diamonds, stay together on the rope. Getting better every second, been improving on my goals. Been a veteran, I'm moving through the obstacles and hosts. Falling deeper in the dream that's been implanted in my soul. Getting paper, chasing cream and staying meaner with the flow. Than I ever been is heaven sent, I'm rhyming like the Pope. Got the medicine for remedies afflicting on your soul. Blowing Kiefer in the Sutherland, saluting to the soul, yo. Saluting to the soul, yo. Salute to the soul, yo. Oh.
I'm reaching for the stars. Got ambitions in my mind. Can't let 'em go.
that's how you get it. That's how you get it. Yeah. That's what I talk about. Like, yo, I'm telling you, just ambitions, man. That's all what it is. And these ambitions is what got me to where I'm at right now. So here's another article of mine that I wrote. Race and Identity, the Complexities Explored. I wrote this because no matter what, race is an issue. I still play video games. I've been playing video games from the Atari time frame. I started playing with the Atari. My parents bought me a Nintendo, and now I got a PS5, and now I'm working on getting a PC. When I play video games, especially Mortal Kombat, if I'm beating somebody in the game, and I, usually, the mics are open, they hear me talk, the first thing they say is some real derogatory things, right? I don't need to go there. They call me the N-word and this, that, and third. Most of them say that I'm lazy, living on food stamps, blah, 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 blah. And they don't know that I'm a combat wounded veteran who served my country, who got wounded in combat, and actually wasn't somebody who is lazy, the opposite of lazy, right? But it's funny that, at 41, I'm 41 years old, and I still play video games, like I said, and I still experience this, not just from people who are my age and older, but individuals who are younger, right? You know, when I was in Afghanistan, I've heard people who were wearing the same uniform as me that were Caucasian who would use the N word. And I mean, not in any way that some people would think when they're listening to hip hop, but they would be being in their rooms and they'd be playing their video games and they would be like, die, N word, die, right? And with the ER, right? And that's what I want people to understand. There's a difference between the A and the hard ER. And usually you can tell the people who actually understand what they're talking about when they reference either one. But anyway, you know, me being so infatuated and loving history the way I love it, I wanted to know, when was the first identity of a group of individuals? What was the first considered race of people, right? And the Sumerians, considered the first civilization, were known as the black-headed people. So I always try to share a part of history with what's going on with today. If you haven't been paying attention to what I've been doing, I've always, everything that I talk about or share is what is normally talked about and shared about normally throughout every day. I get on X Spaces a lot and I hear the same things. I hear people saying they want to make changes and they talk about the same thing and believe the same stuff, even when given new information with sources, which I usually do. Actually, I shouldn't even say usually. I should say always do, because I always have a source for what I said. So this is an article of mine. Like I said, Race and Identity, the Complexity Explored. I know it says January 15th here. This is the day that I'm recording this, but I am not publishing it today. I'm not going to publish it until February, and there's a reason why for it. And hopefully at the end of this article, you understand why I published it in February. Okay, but I've read a lot of Darwin's books and publishings and so on and so forth, and followed a lot of what he did. And I can tell you, I am pretty knowledgeable about it. A lot of what I talk about is backed up about, with, like I said, with sources. I don't include my sources on this actual article because it doesn't have to do with specific any time frame of something that I'm talking about, but you'll see what I'm talking about. So with this picture right here is just an AI art that I asked it to do. I put in some stuff and came out with this, and I thought this was pretty cool. It's an explanation. You know, everybody's looking at a picture of how somebody taught us how evolution came to be, and taught us about you know, how we came to be what we are today. But you know, let's start with this. Survival of the fittest reflects the natural process where living beings most attuned to their surroundings are the ones who endure, flourish, and ensure their traits are carried forward to future generations. First articulated by Herbert Spencer and aligned with Darwin's idea of natural selection, it highlights that survival isn't just about brute strength. It's about possessing the qualities needed to thrive within a given environment. These qualities can range from adaptability and intelligence to cooperation and resilience. While this principle elegantly explains the workings of nature, it has been twisted in human history to validate harmful ideologies, distorting the concept of natural harmony into an excuse for inequality and domination. Like I said, Herbert Spencer coined the phrase survival of the fittest. Race is a way in which people often categorize others based on physical appearances such as skin color, facial features, or hair type, as well as family origins or geographical ancestry. For example, terms like black-headed people were used to describe the Sumerians. However, In the human animal world, the aspect that draws the most attention is skin color. Across the world, having black skin is often stigmatized. But what does it truly mean to be considered black? Before I continue, I think it's important to share what I know and what I consider black. My father is African American and my mother is German and Turkish. For about 30 years, I identified as black, German, and Turkish. However, over time, I realized this wasn't a good way to identify myself. Why, you ask? Through extensive research into the indigenous peoples of every continent except Antarctica, I discovered a striking pattern. Individuals with lightly brown to dark brown skin were present across all these groups. Africa having the darkest of skin tones. For example, ancient DNA analysis of Mesolithic hunter-gatherers in Europe, dating back about 7,000 years, reveals they had darker skin and blue eyes, challenging modern notions of ethnic and racial identity. It's crazy. And I got a map right here, the world's indigenous peoples. Click on it, you get you a more interesting understanding. But what is considered black? Let's go back to the dictionaries for clarification's sake.
Old English black, absolutely dark, absorbing all light, of the color of soot or coal, reconstructed to be from Proto-Germanic blakas, burned. Source also of Old Norse blacker, dark. Old High German bla black, Swedish black, ink, Dutch blaken, to burn, from Proto-Indo-European blig, to burn, gleam, shine, flash. Source also of Greek phlegon, to burn, scorch, Latin flagrare, to blaze, glow, burn, from root bell, one, to shine, flash, burn. The usual Old English word for black was swert, see swart. Black was used of dark-skinned people in Old English, of coffee with nothing added, attested by 1796. The meaning fierce, terrible, wicked is from late 14th century. The figurative senses often come from the notion of without light, moral or spiritual. Latin Niger had many of the same figurative senses: gloomy, unlucky, bad, wicked, malicious. The metaphoric use of the Greek word melas, however, tended to reflect the notion of shrouded in darkness, overcast. In English, it has been the color of sin and sorrow at least since circa 1300. The sense of with dark purposes, malignant, emerged 1580s in black art, necromancy. It is also the sense in black magic. The same root produced Middle English Blake, pale, from Old English black, bright, shining, glittering, pale. The connecting notions being perhaps fire, bright and burned and dark, or perhaps absence of color. According to OED, in Middle English, it is often doubtful whether black, Blake means black, dark, or pale, colorless, wan, livid. And the surname Blake can mean either one of pale complexion or one of dark complexion.
Basically, relating or belonging to people with light brown or dark brown skin, especially people who live in Africa or whose family originally came from Africa. As a soldier in the U.S. Army, I served in Iraq and Afghanistan, participating in various missions across the Mesopotamian region. While stationed there, I met people with light brown skin, skin color like mine. And here are some pictures of them. Race is a social construct often used to categorize people based on physical features like skin color, facial features, and hair texture. But it varies greatly across cultures and historical contexts. In the US, race has been historically used to separate groups especially to distinguish between black and white populations, and has often been tied to social divisions and inequality. In this context, black generally refers to people of African descent, and skin color can range from light brown to dark brown. However, identity is more complex than skin color alone. For example, people with African ancestry from Latin America or the Caribbean might identify as black, Afro-Latino, or Afro-Caribbean based on their heritage and cultural identity. While race in the U.S. is often defined by these broad categories, black, white, Asian, Native American, the system does not apply uniformly worldwide. In many other countries, identity may be defined more by ethnicity, culture, or nationality rather than race. For instance, in many places like Brazil or the Dominican Republic, racial categories are more fluid, and people may identify based on family heritage, regional origin, or local social structures, not just skin color. Thus, while race plays a significant role in the US for social classification, its meaning can shift dramatically in different global contexts.
David Americo Ortiz Arias, born November 18, 1975, nicknamed Big Papi, is a Dominican-American former professional baseball designated hitter and first baseman who played 20 seasons in Major League Baseball from 1997 to 2016, primarily for the Boston Red Sox.
Black culture. Black culture. What is black culture? When most people think of black culture, they think of hip-hop music, right? These are some of the most, respected hip-hop artists in the game, or who were in the game, or in R&B, I should say. But what is black culture?
Blackness is not a monolith. We repeatedly and rightfully proclaim, sometimes in the midst of degrading each other for our personal preferences, triggers, and interpretations, a tendency on which we all need to check ourselves. But the fact is, my black is not your black, which is not his black, which is not her black. Accordingly, one perspective isn't inherently more valid than another, and for the most part, that's okay. It's the root.
What is black culture? Okay. Let me share what I've learned from researching the word culture. Okay, what it actually means, right? Because if we're gonna say, I already looked up and told you what black is, right? Okay, so now I'm gonna do the same thing for culture, and we're just gonna combine that, or you can at least combine that in your head and see what that really means, right?
Mid-15th century, the tilling of land, act of preparing the earth for crops. From Latin cultura, a cultivating agriculture, figuratively care, culture, and honoring. From past participle stem of colere to tend, guard, to till, cultivate. See colony. Meaning, the cultivation or rearing of a crop, act of promoting growth in plants, 1620s, was transferred to fish, oysters, etc. by 1796, then to production of bacteria or other microorganisms in a suitable environment, 1880, then product of such a culture, 1884. The figurative sense of cultivation through education, systematic improvement and refinement of the mind, is attested by circa 1500. Century Dictionary writes that it was not common before the 19th century, except with strong consciousness of the metaphor involved, though used in Latin by Cicero. Meaning learning and taste, the intellectual side of civilization, is by 1805. The closely related sense of collective customs and achievements of a people, A particular form of collective intellectual development is by 1867. For without culture or holiness, which are always the gift of a very few, a man may renounce wealth or any other external thing, but he cannot renounce hatred, envy, jealousy, revenge. Culture is the sanctity of the intellect. William Butler Yeats, Journal, 7 March, 1909. The slang culture vulture. One voracious for culture is from 1947. Culture shock. Disorientation experienced when a person moves to a different cultural environment or an unfamiliar way of life is attested by 1940. Ironic or contemptuous spelling culture is attested from 1940 pound, and compare culture, also from mid-15th century.
So basically, the word culture has a long, interesting history that started way back in the 1500s. Originally, it referred to farming, the process of preparing and taking care of the land to grow crops. This idea came from the Latin word cultura, which means cultivating or tending to something, and ultimately from colere, meaning to take care of or to grow. Instead of just growing crops, it could mean growing or improving the mind through education and learning. This wasn't super common until the 1800s, when people really embraced the idea that culture could refer to intellectual development and collective achievements, customs, and knowledge of a group of people. So by 1867, it became tied to the idea of a group's unique way of life or civilization. Okay? Look at that. Trying to define Black culture would be one of the hardest things to do. And I say that because country music, though often associated with royal Southern white culture, has roots that can be traced back to the folk and Appalachian music traditions, which predate recorded country music. These traditions blended European settlers' ballads, fiddle tunes, and storytelling with African American rhythms, creating a distinct sound that would evolve into country music. As a product of cultural fusion, country music incorporates elements from European folk, African American blues, and Western music. While no single group can be credited with inventing it, African Americans played a crucial role in shaping both the sound and style of early country music. Instruments like the banjo, introduced to the Americas by enslaved Africans, became central to the genre, especially in the early bluegrass and folk music days. Additionally, pioneers like DeFord Bailey, a Black harmonica player, Charlie Pride, a Black country singer, were instrumental in country music's early and later development, highlighting the significant role of African Americans in the genre's evolution. Right? Look, I got on this article, I got some pictures of them. You know what I'm saying? See? Chuck Berry is widely regarded as one of the pioneers of rock and roll, with his innovative guitar riffs and songwriting style influencing generations of musicians. His hit songs such as Johnny B. Good and Maybelline became foundational tracks in the development of rock music in the 1950s. Got a picture of him in 1957. America is comprised of many different groups of people who are influenced by each other, regardless of how you look at it. I'm American, right? I'm American. We couldn't be America without the many different groups of people. Early on, I talked about my father being African American. He considered himself Black. One of the things he always used to say when I was little was, I don't have to do nothing but stay Black and die. He identified himself as Black and African American. But not for nothing. Most people who have light brown to dark brown skin have some relationship with Africa. It's just what it is. Okay. America. If someone from America who was born and raised in America has Irish blood, they consider themselves Irish American, or do they consider themselves just American? Savannah, Georgia hosts one of the oldest and largest St. Patrick's Day celebrations in the U.S. People from Little Georgia, to Savannah, Georgia, to even Atlanta, Georgia, and people beyond that will go to Savannah to celebrate St. Patrick's Day. The reason for this is because many people from South Georgia have Irish ancestry stemming from Irish immigration during the 18th and 19th centuries. Early settlers arrived during the colonial period, and larger numbers came during the Great Irish Famine, often settling first in Savannah before spreading throughout the state. The Irish brought their traditions, religion, and work ethic, blending over time with English, Scottish, African, and Native American cultures to create a rich heritage. This influence is still evident today, especially in Georgia's vibrant St. Patrick's Day celebrations. Here's where I'm at right here. But, every day except St. Patrick's Day, white Georgians typically take pride in their deep Southern roots and heritage. However, on St. Patrick's Day, the focus often shifts to celebrating Irish ancestry, reflecting a different but equally significant cultural identity. It's another AI art. You know what I'm saying? I like to be creative. I'm not an artist. I can't draw. So if I can put it in words where AI can share it with me and give it to me in some kind of... The labels used in America can be ridiculous. But America became what it is through many stages of growth. However, racism still exists, and in many cases, you'll encounter it at some point in your life, with some experiencing more than others. It seems like a survival mechanism for some, and the extremists play a pivotal role ensuring their traits are carried forward to future generations. The question is, what traits are they preserving, and why are these the ones deemed essential for survival? Racism.
Racism, N. www.etymonline.com. By 1928, in common use from 1935, originally in a European context, racial supremacy as a doctrine, the theory that human characteristics and abilities are determined by race. See racist, and compare the various senses in race, N2, and racialism. Applied to American social systems from late 1930. Racist, N, 1932, as an adjective from 1938. From race, N2, plus ist. Racism, QV, is in use by 1928, originally in the context of fascist theories, and common from 1936. These words replaced earlier racialism, 1882, and racialist, 1910, both often used early 20th century in a British or South African context. There are isolated uses of racism from circa 1900. Returning recently from a 6-month visit to Europe, the Reverend John Lafarge, noted Catholic writer, warned at a dinner given in his honor that the destructive forces of racism are increasing in the United States, and that they could cause irreparable harm among the American people if immediate steps are not taken to combat them. Father Lafarge said that American racism is directed principally against Negroes, Jews, and foreigners. He described it as the pale but venomous cousin of Nazi racism. Like its Nazi counterpart, he added, it has erected impassable barriers between extensive regions and large groups of people, has formed its own myths and molded its own social institutions, and above all has come consistently into conflict with Christian teachings. Opportunity, Journal of Negro Life, Volume 17, Number 2, February 1939. Earlier, race hatred. 1852 of the Balkans, 1858 of British India, 1861 of white and black in America. Race prejudice. 1867 of English in India, 1867 of English in India, 1869 of white and black in America, 1870 of the English toward Irish were used, and especially in the 19th century. U.S. political contexts, Negrophobia. Anglo-Saxonism as belief in the superiority of the English race had been used disparagingly from 1860. Anti-Negro, agidard, is attested in British and American English from 1819. Also from 1932,
Racism, when viewed through the lens of survival, can be seen as a tool used by certain groups to maintain power and dominance. Historically, the idea of race has been manipulated to create divisions, placing one group above others in social, economic, and political hierarchies. By dehumanizing and marginalizing other racial groups, those in power have secured resources, territory, and influence, ensuring their group's survival and supremacy. In this context, racism becomes a strategy for preserving the status quo and controlling access to opportunities and wealth. It fosters a sense of us versus them, where the perceived other is seen as a threat to the group's survival, justifying discriminatory practices and policies to maintain a sense of dominance. Right? The term Sagiga or Ja means black-headed, and this could be the origins of the beginning of what we identify as race. The Sumerians are no longer around. That group of people no longer exists. Their survival is no longer. Right. I have an 1873 Bible right over there, and it states that the Sumerians, Babylonians, and Chaldeans were one and the same people. I already have a video where I talk about that. That's on my YouTube channel. But George Smith writes in his book, and this is the book right here. You know what I'm saying? I just want to make sure that you guys know, because I've already put this on my YouTube channel too. I have a next account. You can follow me there. That's why I do most of my posts and most of my stuff, only because it's easier for me to do it there. But anyway, George Smith writes in his book, it has already been pointed out by Sir Henry Rawlinson that the Babylonians recognized two principal races, the Adams, or dark races, and the Sarku, or light race. Probably in the same manner the two races are mentioned in Genesis, the sons of Adam and the sons of God. Until next time, knowledge is power.